You're getting some unfiltered juice today. And if you are not an SEO Juice regular, you're probably like, what is this nutcase talking about? But super excited to have you all here. Um, Looks like we still got some rolling in. Okay. Why
Give
don't
a,
let's go ahead and introduce ourselves.
yeah, let's do that. Go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, so hi everyone. For those of you who don't know me, welcome. Super excited to have you here. My name is Casey McBride. I'm Sochi Senior Director of Digital CS and Value Strategy, and it is just a long-winded way of saying that I am here to help articulate the value of your marketing programs. And myself and my team work really hard to make sure that you all are feeling like you have a good grasp on what the heck is going on in search, social, AI, reputation, and kind of how you can maximize your use of Sochi to succeed in those channels. With that, I will introduce Mike Snow.
Thank you, Casey. Yes, I am the local SEO enablement manager, or as I like to joke, the SEO evangelist, because SEO never ends. It's constantly changing. My goal, my role really is to keep up on everything that's going on in Google. I'm constantly doing searches for customers and looking at optimization opportunities. Over the past year now, we've been kind of switching on how that bridges the gap between traditional search, AI search, bringing in social. Like SEO has really grown not to be search engine optimization, but really search everywhere. We're doing that everywhere. And I thank you for joining. A little history, I will say. This session probably comes out of the fact that I think initially when we first started the SEO Juice webinar, which Casey mentioned, our plan was to leave time for Q&A at the end. We talk a lot, and we tend to bring a lot of things to the SEO Juice. I think it was originally supposed to be 45 minutes with Q&A, and it turned into an hour with us just yapping. It's all valuable information. We wouldn't just yap, not, to yap, but we wanted to provide an opportunity beyond just asking questions as we're going through slides for you to come in and ask us questions directly, right? Like we didn't want to direct the conversation this time. We wanted to leave it to you. So with that, I will shut up.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, oh, thanks, Robin. I was just gonna say that one of our favorite parts, at least mine anyways, is when you guys have things to say as we're going through the juice, and then there's questions live on things that we're talking about, and sometimes it causes us to go off on these just like really interesting tangents of thought. And Danielle on the marketing side approached us after the last SEO juice, and she was like, "Man, we got a lot of questions. Why don't we have like an open-ended Q&A type of session?" And we were like, heck yeah, like that's right up our alley. And look, hopefully we have all of the magic answers to all of your questions. And if we don't, please forgive us, but we will do our hardest to try and help answer the things that are most pressing for you and how you can help measure your success. So at any point, please, please, please submit your questions. You can add them to the chat here. We will get to them as we can. We did get some questions submitted ahead of time. Almost all of them, and Mike, it looks like you just sent ask away to host and panelists. You guys,
Oh, yes, I did.
uh,
Never set this up right.
yep. So the first question is the one that was pre-submitted. We've gotten this from a lot of folks. We hear this from our customers, from different folks who are interested in buying Sochi, from people on the SEO Juice every month. And it is the hot topic on everybody's mind. How do I show up in AI search? What do I do to get there? I wish it was a simple black and white answer. I think that there's a lot of different ways that you can get there. That is a big reason why Sochi is building out or has launched this, what we're dubbing facts. It's our kind of framework similar to EEAT, if you're familiar with Google on how to show up in search. But facts is freshness, authority, consistency, trust, and semantic relevance. And it kind of breaks down into the different things that you need to do to now show up in this search everywhere optimization world. I will hit on a couple things, then I will go ahead and turn it over to Mike for some of his thoughts. But the things that really stand out to me when when it comes down to how do I show up in AI, first and foremost, I think that last one, that semantic relevance, is incredibly important when we're talking about AI search. And what we mean when we say semantic relevance is, are you getting into a deeper level of detail that allows you to appear? So people aren't refining their searches anymore. Gone are the days where maybe you would type into Google, coffee in Pittsburgh. No, not just coffee in Pittsburgh. I want coffee in Mount Lebanon. Oh, okay. Well, not just Mount Lebanon. I want a caramel macchiato in Mount Lebanon with like outdoor seating, right? They aren't refining as much anymore. They're just jumping to that caramel macchiato in Mount Lebanon with outdoor seating. And if you don't have those like additional details, if you don't have that like deeper level of relevant understanding in all of your content and in the things that you want to be known for as you and your brand, it's a lot harder for AI to find you. And if you are playing around in ChatGPT or Claude and you're seeing some of the citation sources and you click through, oftentimes it is literally as simple as highlighted text on a page that mentions that very specific thing that that person was saying. Now it can be really hard, especially if you're a business that has a lot of different offerings, to get to that level of content. It comes down to, making sure the content lives in the right places. Maybe you're expanding on it in a blog. Maybe you're getting that deep level of detail in social posting. If it's your local landing pages, maybe you have a really rich FAQ section where you're getting into some of that deeper detail. Or maybe there's a menu that's like marked up on your page that can show all of those different options. There's a lot of different ways that you can get to that granular level of detail so that when LLMs are like, oh man, I got to find that caramel macchiato with patio seating, and they find that you mention on your page, on your menu, oh, we have a great caramel macchiato, and then it's like, enjoy it on our patio. Wow, okay. That's a huge reason for LLMs to recommend you. And then the last thing I'll say before I turn it over to Mike, is really, I have never seen, in however many years I've been doing this, reviews be as important as they are today. Your reputation, your star rating, what people say about you, how they feel about you, it is in my opinion, like the number one deciding factor when it comes to LLMs. If you are not well liked, if you do not have the proper technical aspect of it with your star rating in line and you're getting that qualifier, but then if you're not being talked about in community forums like Reddit and having people really just engage with you and like you, and build that community, you're not going to be chosen in these channels because the court of public opinion is strong with LLMs. And it is a huge, huge deciding factor. With that, I'll go ahead and let Mike chime in with his thoughts.
Yeah, you said a lot of great things I'd love to expand on, and I'm not going to be able to do all of that. I will say, shameless plug, if you want to know more about this, the last two SEO juices, and we'll give you a link on that in the chat. We've been talking about this. We talked about facts in March. We talked about something that I'm going to show in a second about how the AI architecture and retrieval systems work last month. And something that shocks me, which I didn't really underline enough last month, which is Google's own Gemini and AI mode have no access to the Google Maps database.
Crazy.
I'm just going to stop and let that sink in. No
Crazy.
database. Your structured attributes, your categories, your reviews, your services, your menus that you upload, your photos, all of that information, your posts, not directly accessible via the LLM conversation layer. It's only getting what is being sent back via justification, right? To say that you do these things. Review snippets that may highlight the thing that is being fanned out and searched for. And so it's really important now more than ever that you go beyond your Google profile and you look at your pages in two ways. There's the problem solving, semantically relevant, authoritative page, right? That talks about what you do, how you do it, why you're better than others, has an FAQ, has all these things. But then you need this other structured data, like having summaries of your reviews that maybe Google can't hit. Maybe you need to, really list your services and make sure your H2s are very clear about where your attributes are, where your services are. And it's something that we're even, all of us are evolving all the time what our pages are, right? Every week we're finding out these kind of new things that need to be done. And so when it comes to AI mode, when Casey talked about facts, instead of everyone's coming up with new things like we need GEO, LLMO, we need to have these text files, we need to do all these special things. It's not really about that. I mean, SEO is engine optimization. We turned it into everywhere, but it never said Google, right? It's wherever you search. Google's a search engine. Social can be a search engine. LLMs are a search engine, right? You're trying to optimize for those. And they all want fresh content. They all want it to be authoritative. You need to show what you do. You need to talk about it in an authoritative manner. You need to be consistent because that'll get you thrown out if you're not consistent because LLMs don't want to be wrong. You need
Mhm.
that authority, that trust, or sorry, that trust, that the reviews, you need those and that relevance. So we could spend a half an hour talking about it, but I do want to jump. I think this is a good time if we don't have another question right away from the group. I've been getting a lot of questions talking about reviews, about Google's new review policy.
Mm.
I'm wondering, I want to hit on that really quick.
Hit on it.
For those who pay attention to news in the search community, you've probably seen over the last week a lot of news of people saying, "Oh my God, the guidelines for Google reviews have changed." They really haven't changed, but Google has clearly defined what incentivized reviews mean and has clearly stated that incentivized reviews are against policy. Um, Basically anytime where you're giving someone something for a review, where you're telling them, hey, say, review me and mention my name and I'll get a prize. Like you probably get that a lot. I get that at coffee shops all the time. Review me and then I get a thing or whatever that is. That's actually against policy. It always has been, but it's something that people have been doing. And to be honest, I always warn our customers about it. There's maybe some on the call that I've warned about it. It is something that anything you're doing against Google policy may have gotten away for years, like geo modifiers. But as Google starts injecting its own LLM layers to look for these things, they're going to start calling them out. And what's really interesting, it's very timely and serendipitous because last week I did a lot of research on the fact that LLMs are really great at uncovering incentivized review clusters,
Mhm.
especially in YMYL category. So for those who don't know, it's Google's term for your money or your life, which sounds like a threat, but it's just means anything that deals with your finances or your health or your family's health needs an extra level of scrutiny when providing a recommendation. And so when LLMs see, and the way they recognize them, a normal organic review generation, you're getting a lot of good reviews, some bad reviews. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. You're going to get some really thoughtful reviews that mention somebody because they had a good experience, and some that just have a star. And just mentioning a name isn't bad on its own. But when you have a cluster of all of a sudden a bunch of really thoughtful reviews, all mentioning the same name over the course of a couple weeks or period, LLMs are going to go, there's something not right there. And
Yeah.
flagged. And so when Google announces these policies, it tells me they're going to start looking for that. And y'all need to be.
100%. I think at the end of the day, too, like where this is coming from is Google, outside of just LLMs, we'll get to LLMs in a second, but like Google, especially in the past few years, has really been favoring authenticity. They want, like, it's the same, they favor authenticity because humans favor authenticity. Because we want to trust what we're reading and what we're seeing and to be able to make an informed decision that is not created because a company is paying for reviews or incentivizing or, you know, because humans respond better to authenticity, Google seeks that out. And that's also something that LLMs pick up on. That's why you see Reddit so often
Mm,
in LLMs, right? Because it's hard to cheat that system. That's just the, like I said, the court of public opinion. And so it's become so important to make sure that your brand and your customer experience and your like that stuff matters deeply. You can't cheat the system as easily as you may have been able to in the past to try and get your online perception to look a certain way. You have to actually be that because it's just going to get harder and harder with some of this technology and being able to dissect, where customers want to spend their money and who they want to spend it with and why they want to make the decisions they do. It's all about finding authentic, trustworthy businesses to transact with.
And I don't know, you said something really interesting. And I don't know if you saw I posted a note in our we have a channel where we kind of share news with each other, myself, Casey, and Kelly and Damien. And in my research, I've kind of uncovered this fact, and it's probably out there. When it comes to Google or Gemini, when it comes to ChatGPT, when it comes to Perplexity, Grok, whatever, there is no programmed algorithm. They don't actually have an algorithm. It is trained on what we want. And so, Casey, when you say we're looking for, authentic, trustworthy businesses, that's what it's doing. It's doing what we want.
Yeah,
The retrieval layer, like that, or the part that goes back to the database, that's an algorithm. And that algorithm sends back a bunch of,
proof.
results to say, hey,
Yeah,
these are valid and these you could potentially, look at these. And then it goes through and does that, what it thinks of as kind of a human
the
filter
human.
and what we
Yeah.
want to present something to us. And so, and that
Mhm.
could be a biased filter. Let's say you're in the same conversation all the time. Those LLMs also know what you're biased towards, and that will
Oh,
change things as well.
yeah, I mean my Claude knows that I'm a mother of two, that I eat relatively organic. There's a lot of things that it knows about me and my diet and what my kids like to eat. And so when I am now looking for recommendations, like it holds that bias as well.
Mm,
So that's another thing that it's hard to beat that,
it
right? Like
is.
you're always you know, even when it was Google, I used to tell customers all the time, like me sitting here Googling your business from my own Google profile and my perception where I'm at, here in Pittsburgh compared to where the customer might be in Texas or wherever they are. I'm not going to get the same result as you, even if I type in the same exact thing. It was kind of the start of this. And
Yeah.
now we're talking like hyper personalization. And so that's also where some of that semantic aspect comes into play, right? Where
That
it's really important. Content truly is king right now. The more fresh content that you can get out there that's contextual, that brings that deeper level of proof to all of these different things that you want to be known for, the easier it's going to be for you to show up for the mom of two that eats relatively organically and enjoys doing X, Y, and Z with her kids on the weekend.
Yeah, you raised a good point that I was just thinking is this idea of it makes it sound like it's a negative, right? This idea that there's this filtering that you have to be authentic, that it's going to give good answers to specific people. It's just you're going to get in front of customers better as long the right customer and get better
Yeah,
qualified leads, the more honest you are and the better you define your business,
yeah,
right? One of the things we find all the time with SEO and typical search, you can optimize for all the keywords you want and trick your way to the top potentially, but it doesn't mean anyone's going to pick you and think you're right for that, right? It's
we
about finding those leads.
We've seen a ton of instances in this past year about customers who are seeing their search impressions drop. I mean, search and map impressions definitely dropped last year, but then they're seeing request directions increase or website clicks increase, or and it's if you're a restaurant, maybe your phone calls increased, and we say all the time, it's like, well, you're getting more qualified leads. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're not relevant anymore for some of those general things because maybe you never were. And, it doesn't mean that impressions are like a vanity metric, but to some degree, there was a lot of slop out there that you were appearing for that maybe you were never meant to be appearing for.
Yeah.
And so now is the age of refinement and showing up for what you know you want to convert for, what you know your business can convert for.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of evidence of that. For instance, I was doing something for one of our mattress customers yesterday, and one of the keywords they saw dropping is mattress. But if you search mattress on mobile, you get a two pack. What does
Yeah.
that mean? People aren't engaging with the local pack on mobile when they search mattress. It means that's not a qualified lead. It never was, but it's been in your impressions. So that's the kind of
I
thing you need to think about.
I use this example all the time. In my past life, I helped run SEO at Dick's Sporting Goods. There's a lot of different businesses within Dick's Sporting Goods, right? Like all these different departments, all these different things they want to get known for. And I had somebody come up to me at work and talk to me about like, well, we should be ranking number one for shoes. Why aren't we ranking number one for shoes? Why aren't we appearing? And I'm like, who's typing? First off, who's going to Google and just typing shoes? what kind of shoes? What context? Like what are you buying them for? What is the purpose? Like how good is a lead if it doesn't convert? Like that person has no idea what they're trying to buy. They don't, like I don't know the last time I would ever just type shoes into some place. You know what I mean? Like there's a kind of shoe I'm looking for. Um, and so it's kind of that now, right? Like, yeah, maybe we're missing that visibility for super general terms, but like we're operating in long tail now because long tail is what it is. Even in Google, it's increasing significantly because of AI overviews, because of customer behaviors, and the fact that they're able to have conversational search elsewhere.
Yeah, and that probably explains a lot. I do a lot of work, in the Google keyword insights within Sochi to kind of see like why are impressions going up or down? Is it driven by branded, non-branded discovery, what that is? And I find that, it only gives you the keywords that are above like maybe 15 impressions in the top 1,000 at most for each location. And so what I'm finding is the impression counts are going down while impressions might be going up. And part of that is we're probably getting a lot more of those longer tailed keywords that are unique, right? That are below that 15 threshold. So normal searches like, brunch near me is now turning into brunch spot that has a little slow wait, easy parking, and outside seating.
Or very specific things about the menu. When I'm picking a brunch spot, I want to know that I can get an espresso martini. I
There
want
you
to know
go.
that I what I mean? Like I got some
That's very
qualification.
important.
It's very important. So, yeah, that's why really playing into all of the different content levers that you have is so important. Even on like I think a lot of times when we talk about content levers, people typically think about the things that are maybe in their direct control. If you're like an SEO manager, for example, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about even like your social media levers. Like why don't like if you know that there is a demand for certain things that you offer and that you can provide, if you are that brunch spot, you better have a post about your espresso martinis. You better have a post about your French toast or the things that you know are like high impact items that people demand and they're looking for. Um, because
Oh,
it's going to directly impact your visibility in LLMs and in SEO.
yeah. I will say, what is a good way to appear as many long tail keywords as possible? What steps should our franchisees be taking? Any resources we can share with them?
Good question. I think first it comes down to identifying your business's long tail keywords. And I don't even just mean by like doing keyword research, which obviously keyword research is essentially very helpful, right? Like you want to know what kind of demand exists if these are things that you should be targeting. But I more so mean like knowing your business and what you need to be found for, right? So if I am I don't know, if I run a smoothie shop, obviously I want to be known for smoothie, but there's other things that I know my business is promoting right now, whether it's protein smoothies, whether it's coffee infused smoothies, or maybe we have acai bowls and I want to make sure we show up for that. Maybe we even have like paninis or things like that. Like that's your long tail. And so first step is figuring out like who you are and what is crucial to making sure that your business can sell. And then it's kind of thinking about the different customer profiles. So it's like, somebody looking for a protein smoothie, maybe also like goes to the gym. Maybe they're looking for like a post-workout smoothie, something like that. Then maybe you start to think about a social strategy around like, okay, the perfect post-workout protein smoothie is available at Casey Smoothie Shop. Whatever it is there. It's kind of just it's not as scientific, I don't think, anymore as like plugging things in and getting all of your long tail keyword terms and then trying to execute. I think it's really just like how do we build our strategies around these individual personas that relate to the things that we know are business critical that we want to appear for.
Yeah, I think to your point, it's getting away from the traditional idea of this SEO keyword targeting and this idea of understanding what types of discovery queries are making an LLM
Mhm.
recommend a business like yours. I do that a lot in AI mode, and it'll say these are the types of questions that people are, the problems that people are solving. And once you know that, then you can get in front and solve those problems via your site, via Q&A, via just listing out the services, via, within your
Yeah.
description, whatever that might be, putting up blog posts. And I think everything you do, once you know what people are looking for, that's when you take this filter and you go, okay, now I need content that's fresh, that talks about this, that's authoritative, that's consistent. Is it trustworthy? Are people talking about those keywords that I want to be found for? And it's not about specific keywords, it's about that cluster and that topic, right?
Mhm.
Are they validating that I do that topic, and am I creating semantically relevant content that's fresh, that's authoritative, that's consistent, and you're trying to bring all of that out.
What I like that you do a lot, Mike,
Mhm.
is kind of the reverse engineering as
Mhm.
well. So it's like kind of playing around with Claude or ChatGPT, and when you have certain topics that you're like, we absolutely should be showing up for that, you know,
Mhm.
search for them and then see like who is being recommended alongside of you. Know, obviously, right, like this isn't scientific. We just talked about how those things are biased towards whatever your user is, fine. But then going back and kind of asking, like, well, what made you choose? Mike Smoothie Shop over Casey Smoothie Shop? What did you see that related to me talking about wanting a workout smoothie that you didn't see in Casey Smoothie Shop? And you'd be surprised what kind of information you get back. Go ahead.
That's how I uncovered the bias, the review bias.
Yeah.
Was asking a customer, looking, they showed up in the local pack, doing great consistently. And then I go into an LLM, I go into AI mode, which I figured like should be very similar. And then go, why did you choose to filter this business out? And sometimes it'll be like, it wasn't even a choice for me. Or it'll say, well, I
Yeah.
chose to filter it out because I noticed this, this, and that. This type of search implies that I know that people usually want this and that. And what I find in a national business, like there are national brand biases versus local, and you need to
Yeah.
understand what those are. Like there's a consistency bias that national brands get, which is a positive. But then sometimes there's, especially with YMYL searches, there's a consistency and staffing issue
Yeah.
that local businesses don't have where a chain might. And so, depending on what the need is, depending on what the priority is, or what it assumes the priority is, it may change the way it provides a result. So, for instance, I noticed we have a minute left. I was just gonna, I'm going to say one thing and then we'll cut it. There was a business that was a YMYL customer. They were in pediatric, and they said that they don't recommend a chain because there's a lot of turnover in pediatrics. So what do you do to fight that? You create blog posts on what you do for those types of customers. So that's why you need to know those things. So I know we're right at the end, and Casey, I'm going to let you.
Yeah, we are right at the end, guys. And man, like Mike, I think we could have just kept talking forever. But please, if you're new here and you've
Mm,
not joined us on an SEO Juice, please join us because we love it. We go through every month and we give you the latest and greatest on what's going on in the industry, any updates that have occurred. We talk through some of the things we're seeing on our end, whether it's with data or things that we've tested. We talk to you about tips and tricks, and we try to have a little bit of fun while we're doing it. So definitely register for the SEO Juice. We would love, love, love to see you guys there. I
mm,
don't think we have a slide on it, but we also just announced Reimagine is our conference coming up in October in Scottsdale, Arizona, which I'm also really excited for and bringing up because the SEO Juice will be there as well. We're going to do a breakfast juice session, which should be so much fun. SEO Juice Live. Can't wait. We got to get some merch. But seriously, thank you guys so much. Thank you for everybody who asked questions either here or ahead of time. And we'd love to do maybe another one of these again soon.